بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Math grade 6. Today we want to learn what the meaning of the rates. What the meaning of the rates. So today we want to learn how to find the unit rates. How to find the unit rates. At the first, what's the meaning of the rate? What's the meaning of the rate? Rate, a ratio that compares two quantities with a different kinds of unit. So a rate, a ratio that compares two quantities with a different kinds of unit. For example, as you see here, we have fraction. In this fraction, up we have bits and down we have minutes. Bits and minutes, different unit. When we compare between two different units, means we have rate. So when you see fraction, and this fraction comparing between the two different units, so that's mean we have rate. So the units bits and minutes are different. Bits and minutes are different.
Mr.
Yes. Repeat your question.
Can I go bathroom?
Raise your voice.
Can I go bathroom?
Okay, you're done. Okay, what's the meaning of the unit rate? When a rate is simplified so that it has a denominator of 1 unit. Suppose we have rate, but here the denominator will be 1. So that's mean now we have unit rate. So what is the difference between rate and unit rate? Rate is fraction or ratio comparing between two different units. But unit rate is a rate, but the denominator down, the number in the denominator down will be 1. The denominator is what? Is 1 unit. The denominator is 1 unit. So what I said now, today we want to learn what the meaning of the rate and what the meaning of the unit rate. Rate is a ratio that compares two quantities with a different kinds of units. For example, we have here 100 bits over 2 minutes. As you see here, we have fraction and we have comparing between bits and minutes. This comparing in the fraction means I have a rate. And the unit rate, when a rate is simplified so that it has a denominator of 1 unit, of one unit. So the unit rate, I have rate, but the denominator will be 1. See with me now this video to know what the meaning of the rate and unit rate.
Here's the beginning of the new set of standards here for 7th grade, the ratios and proportions aspect of it. This video is really just going to talk about the unit rates, real basic ones at that. And we'll get into more about ratios and areas and measurements about that kind of stuff a little bit later. But like I said, this is going to be a real quick intro. So let's talk about when you might see something like this. So let's say you are driving a car and you're going 100 miles in 2 hours. Well, no. This is kind of scary. Let's say you are the passenger of a car and you're driving along 100 miles in 2 hours. Two quantities measured in different units, okay? So that's what that was talking about in that previous one, right? We were talking about miles, driving 100 miles in 2 hours, right? So you're talking about two different units. And if you've really been sort of working along with the definitions of division that we've been working with lately, this shouldn't be surprising, okay? Now, unit rate is when we have a rate where the denominator is 1, okay? And often what we're going to do is we're going to use the word per or for each with unit rates, okay? Not always, but you're going to see it that way a lot of the time, okay? And I'll explain a little bit more about what unit rate is here in a second. So let's go back and let's take a look. So you as the passenger, because you're too young to drive, if you're in my class, if you're not in my class, then maybe you could be behind the wheel, but so you're traveling, right? You're not driving. You're traveling 100 miles in 2 hours. So we're going to talk about how many miles are we are traveled per hour, right? So when we see this idea of per hour, we know that this is a unit rate problem. So let's talk about how we're going to solve a unit rate problem, okay? Well, these are really just division problems, okay? And so this division, right, this is the definition that we discussed earlier this quarter. So we were talking about division is really when you just make groups of stuff from a bunch of stuff, right? You start with a bunch of stuff and you make groups of it. And what you're going to do is your answer is going to tell you either how many groups you can make or how much stuff is in each group. Okay, well, when we talk about unit rates, this is a unit rate, okay? How much stuff is in each group, right? And so here's the key thing. Each group, right? It means one group, and that's what we talk about with unit rate. When you have that stuff divided by the number of groups. So typically when you have a rate problem, you're going to know the total amount of stuff. It's going to be in one unit. And then you're going to know the number of groups, which is going to be a different unit, okay? And then you're going to divide those things to figure out how much stuff is in each group or one of those groups. So let's go back to the passenger problem, okay? So you're driving along in this car, you go 100 miles in 2 hours, and we want to know how many miles are traveled per hour. Well, let's talk about what is the total stuff that we're talking about here, right? Is the 2 hours the stuff or is the 100 miles the stuff, okay? And which one is the groups? Well, this is telling us, right? It says how many miles, okay? So we've got miles, and then you get this word per hour, okay? So this is basically saying the number of miles, this is the stuff, right? This is the stuff we're working with, and after per, this is the group, okay? So it's going to be miles, right? The number of miles I have, and I'm going to divide it by my groups, okay? Which is going to be hours, okay? And this is going to tell me the number of, right? Because then I've got my total amount of stuff, right? Total amount of stuff divided by my groups tells me how much stuff is in each group. Okay, so that's what we're going to do here. So we're going to just go ahead and fill this in. We're going to say 100 miles in 2 hours gives me, right, 100 divided by 2 is going to be 50 miles in 1 hour. Okay, so really I'm just going to be dividing here to figure out how much is in each group. Okay, and that's really just the idea of sort of what I've been setting you up for when we were talking about division, okay? And you'll notice, see how the units set this up really nicely, okay? If I talk about this is the stuff, these are the groups, this is the number of stuff in each group. And by this, when I say each indicates one. Okay, so can you think of some special rates? Speed, I just gave you one of them, is a special type of rate, right? We use it so often, we gave it its own name, right? When you talk about speed, what you're talking about is how far you travel compared to each, time unit. Maybe you're talking about miles per hour. Maybe we're talking about, if you're talking about the in metric units, oftentimes we talk about meters per second. Okay, so that would be the distance unit is meters and the time unit would be seconds, and I talk about for each second. So go ahead, you think of some special rates. All right, so not necessarily an easy one. Maybe you looked it up. That's maybe that was something you did. I don't have a problem with that. Okay, so here are some of the things that I came up with. All right, speed is one. Okay, that's miles per hour, or that's what we typically use in the United States, but it's really just distance compared to time. Density, we typically will talk about grams per milliliter or per cubic centimeter. Often, really what you're talking about is you're talking about the mass of something compared to volume, like the amount of space that it takes up. Wage rate, that's one where we talk about typically the dollars you make per hour. Maybe you talk about if it's your salary. A lot of times we talk about dollars made per year. Acceleration is you compare speed per second. Okay, so the amount of speed you increase or decrease per second. Slope typically talks about elevation, like how high something rises compared to how far over it is, and this is a big one we'll talk about later. Okay, your download rate, maybe how fast something downloads, the number of megabytes or gigabytes something does per second or per minute. An exchange rate is something we talk about. If you go to a different go to a different country, you might say if you're going to go travel to Japan, you would change your dollars, and you'd need to know how many dollars per yen you have, or how many yen per dollars. PSI is something that measures pressure inside of something. So if you've ever pumped up your bike tires or a basketball or a football, there's typically a number on there that says something, like if you're pumping up a basketball, I think it recommends something like 10 PSI, and what's really talking about, it's pounds per square inch. So it's the number of pounds of air inside of each square inch of the ball. That indicates pressure. And then BMI, hope you might have talked about this, that's the body mass index, right? That's something we talk about in health oftentimes, or just when you're talking about your body. And that talks about the mass of your body in kilograms, I believe, compared to cubic meters. Okay, so, and it's actually more complicated than that, but it's basically your mass. It's sort of another version of density. So your mass divided by how much space you take up. So, okay, so let's get working here. Literally. So let's say you decide to get a job at Dunkin' Donuts when you're in high school. You can drive to this job now. Okay, since we projected you into the future, you could be driving that car. Although that car is a pretty expensive car, so you're going to need to work a lot of hours at Dunkin' Donuts. Your paycheck says you have worked 12 hours and you made $96. So what is your hourly wage? Okay, so this one doesn't set up perfectly for us the idea of what we're finding, right? The different units. So this is something you're going to need to you sort of have to look at this, and sometimes you're going to have to determine, do I think that the dollars is the stuff, right? Is that what I'm starting with? And then I'm going to divide it by the number of hours. Like, am I trying to find the number of dollars for each hour? Or am I trying to find the number of hours I have to work for each dollar that I make? And you could make an argument for either one of those. But in this case, hourly wage does mean a specific thing, okay? And in this case, it actually means dollars per hour. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at this. So we're going to say that my hourly wage is going to be equal to the dollars. This is my stuff, right, for each hour, right, for 1 hour. Okay, so my stuff, right, stuff I'm working with is going to be equal to the dollar amount, and my groups, okay, are hours. Okay, and that's why I'm going to put it as, right, dollars per hour. Okay, that's my dollar. So I know my total number of stuff, right? The total number of dollars is actually $96. Okay, and I also know the number of hours, right? Because this is a unit rate problem. That's what I'm looking for. Hourly wage is a unit rate. And so I'm looking for how much I make per hour. And I know that I have 12 hours. Well, $96 in 12 hours, okay, is how much for 1 hour, right, per hour? Well, I'm just going to go ahead and do 96 divided by 12, right, because it's 96 in 12 hours. So let's break that down, divide this by 12 to find how many it is for 1 hour. Well, 96 divided by 12 is going to be $8. So this would be you would be getting paid $8 per hour, okay? And maybe an added question here is to figure out if that car that I put up there early. How many hours would you need to work at $8 an hour in order to afford that car? I bet it's a lot. Okay, moving on. Let's try one more here, okay? I'm really excited for this movie. It's coming out really soon. So let's say, let's give it a second here for the music. Soak it in. Oh, it's so good. All right, so let's play, and I'll just kind of turn it down in the background, so hopefully you can hear me okay. So in anticipation of the new Star Wars movie, you have decided to watch all of the previous movies, okay? And after purchasing the digital version, right, let's say you're going to watch it at home, you're going to watch it on your phone, whatever it is, right? You buy a digital version of it, okay? And you start your download. If the movie takes 4 minutes to download and it's a 36 gigabyte file, what is the download speed, okay? Well, when we talk about download speed, okay, download speed, okay, all right, if you see speed, right, speed, this thing right here, that's going to always talk about per second, okay? So in this case, it's a download, and we're not talking about like a car speed or like a distance speed. We're talking about download. So it's going to be the rate at which I can, the file size, right? So it's going to be file size. This is my stuff. File size. This is the stuff. Okay, and my groups. Okay, and speed, the group is always going to be time. Okay, in this case, time is minutes. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take file size, and we're going to divide it by minutes. Okay, this is what we're going to do. So let's just fill it in. So I've got my file size is 36. Let's do it over here, right? So I've got 36 gigabytes. Okay, this is how big it is, divided by for every 4 minutes. So how many get downloaded per minute? Well, this is going to be equal to, right, 36 divided by 4 is 9 gigabytes for every 1 minute. Okay, and we'll talk about how we use these unit rates in order to determine other things in your life. You actually use them quite a bit. So we'll talk a little bit more about that when we see each other again. Okay.
For example, now to know what the meaning of unit and unit rate and how to change from rate to the unit rate. What is the rate? 24 miles in 4 hours. 24 miles in 4 hours. Written as a fraction. Write a fraction here. 24 miles, put it up in the numerator, and 4 hours, put it down in the denominator. So as you see now, this fraction means we have rate. Now, why do we divide by 4? It is the denominator. To change from rate to the unit rate, look to the denominator. The denominator here will be 4. So divide up and down by 4 to change from 4 to the 1. So to find the unit rate, what do we do and why? Divide the numerator and denominator by the denominator to make sure you get a 1 in the denominator. So what is the unit rate? What does this mean in this context of the problem? So 24 now divide by 4 will be 6, and 4 divide by 4 will be 1. So now we have a unit rate. Why unit rate? Because here we have 1, down here we have 1. How can you check your work? Use multiplication. You can use multiplication. Times multiply by 4 up and multiply by 4 down. 4 times 6 will be 24, and 4 times 1 will be 4. So our work is true. This example, find a unit rate. Find a unit rate. We have this sentence, 150 miles in 6 gallons. 150 miles in 6 gallons. The first step, how to write this mathematical sentence as a rate. Draw fraction with the first unit up 150 mile and the second unit down 6 gallon. So this is the rate now. Then look to the denominator. We have here 6. So divide up by 6 and divide down by 6. 150 divide by 6 and 6 divide by 6. Now 150 divide by 6 will be 25 and 6 divide by 6 will be 1. When you get here 1 in the denominator, means now we have unit rate. Why we use the rate and the unit rate? Suppose we go to the supermarket and I see 2 offers inside the supermarket here. Here we have $4.99 for 6 cans, or we have $7.99 for 10 cans. Which is the better for me? The low price. So I want to choose the lower unit price. How to know? Go to the first sentence here. 4.99 for 6 cans and write the unit rate. Put 4.99 up and 6 down. Then divide up and down by 6. You will get the answer here, nearestly 0.8360. And go to the next sentence here. 7.99 for 10 cans. Put 7.99 up and 10 down. Then divide up and down by 10. You will get the answer here, 0.7999. What is the lower? Compare now. Here we have 0, 0, the same value. Here we have point. Then here we have 8. Here we have 7. 7 less than 8. So this price is the lower. So the best offer, the second sentence. So the lower unit price, this is the better for us. 7.99 for 10 cans. So this is our lesson today. Now we have some exercises. We wanted to solve it together. The question, write each rate as a unit rate. And the sentence here, 14 hours in 20 weeks. I have now mathematical sentence and I want to write the rate, then the unit rate. How to write the rate? As the first step, draw fraction. "15 hours, put it up, 14 hours, and 2 weeks, put it down. This is 2 weeks. Now I have unit rate. I have the rate. How to change to the unit rate? Also, we can do fraction here. Then look to the denominator. The denominator will be 2. So we can divide up by 2 and down by 2. So I can write here 14 divide by 2, then 2 divide by 2. So the answer now 14 divided by 2 will be 7 hours, and 2 divided by 2 will be 1 week. So what's the meaning of this unit rate? Each 1 week we have 7 hours each 1 week. We have 7 hours each 1 week. So here we have the rate, and here we have the unit rate. Here we have the unit rate. Any question here? Do you have any question here? No questions. Clear for all?
أستاذ سهل.
Yes.
Okay. The second example here. How to write the rate. The first step, draw fraction, and the first number here, put it up. We have here 80, and the second number here, put it down, 4C. Now I have the rate. Now unit rate. How to change to the unit rate? Look to the denominator. What is the denominator in the rate? Look here, the denominator will be 4. So divide up and down by 4. 8 divide by 4, 8 divide by 4 will be 2, and 4 divide by 4, 8 divide by 4 will be 4, and 4 divide by 2, 4 divide by 4 will be 1.
أستاذ
Yes?
عن شو اسم الدرس؟
Rates.
ريكس؟
Yes. So this is the unit rate. Why this is unit rate? Because here we have 1. Do you have any question now? No questions? Right. Let us to take attendance now. Bati here.
نعم أستاذ.
You can leave Bati. Harib. حمد علي. طيب حمدان الكعبي
نعم أستاذ.
موجود. خالد خليل.
موجود.
You can leave. Daniel here.
Yes, sir. Yes.
سعيد محمد موجود. سلطان علي.
نعم أستاذ موجودة. أستاذ سعيد موجود.
اللي طلع اسمه بإمكانه يغادر. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد. سلطان غازي. absent. طيب عامر أحمد.
نعم أستاذ. أستاذ أقدر أغادر؟
إيه عبد الله محمد.
نعم أستاذ.
تمام. عبد الله راشد.
أستاذ عادي أطلع؟
إيه عبد الله راشد. عبد الله راشد absent. طيب عبد الله محمد.
نعم مستر.
تمام. عبد الله مسعود. عبد الله مسعود. عمير عبد الله الشامسي. عمير عبد الله الشامسي. طيب عمر أشرف.
نعم أستاذ موجود.
فلاح.
نعم.
محمد أحمد الحمادي.
نعم مستر. أستاذ فرح موجود.
إيه. محمد سعيد السريكي.
نعم أستاذ.
محمد الفقعاوي.
نعم أستاذ.
Great. محمد سهيل. محمد سهيل. مصطفى عفوا مطاوع سيف. مطاوع سيف.
نعم أستاذ.
معاذ شعيب. منصور علي. منصور علي.
نعم أستاذ. أستاذ.
So what is our lesson today? What is our lesson today? The rates. We learned today what the meaning of rates and unit rates. What is the difference between rates and unit rates? Rates is a ratio comparing between two different units. But unit rate is a rate, but the denominator will be 1. The denominator will be 1. And we learned how to change from rate to the unit rate. So this is our lesson today. Thank you for your listening. Have a nice day. See you tomorrow, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.